أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين صلوات. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. صلوات. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers, elders and sisters, inshallah. It's an honor to serve you all in this week, inshallah. Allah accept all of our efforts together. On the table I was having 3 cups, that is chai, rab and pani. That is to keep me going, inshallah. But I'm also worried about you because I don't want you to get tired. So I'm planning to speak for about 40 minutes, but I will judge how you are and try to shake you, inshallah, if you fall asleep. Okay, but it's an honor to discuss these particular topics which I have humbly chosen, which is about the nature, the descent, the revelation of the Qur'an, how our beloved Prophet received it, and as I was having discussions on the table, how do we engage with it? How do you read it? How should it make an impact in our lives? And the reason that I posed these questions for 2 reasons. One is, perhaps these are not topics that are critically taught in madaris generally. You know, of course, people say, okay, in the Laylatul Qadr, the Quran was revealed. It was revealed to Rasulullah age 40, for example, in the cave of Hira. These simple things that you all know. But what is the deeper meaning and historical discussions behind what exactly happened? Why did it happen at age 40 and not before? Simple example I'm giving you. People often say, well, Prophet Isa alayhi salam was a prophet when he was a baby, or they point to that mu'ajiza that he could speak from the cradle, right? So now, if the Prophet, our beloved Prophet, peace upon him, is receiving wahi at age 40, why age 40 and not before? Okay? Why is the mu'ajiza different for Rasulullah and different for other prophets? Why at the time of Musa alayhi salam, he has a staff in order to counteract magic, and Prophet Isa is healing, for example, right? There is a slight echo here in the mic. I don't know if that's normal or okay, but I'm just alerting you, inshallah. Salawat. And the second aspect really is the way in which the Qur'an is structured. The order of the chapters as we have it now. Was that always the order of the chapters? Number 2, how did the ayat become arranged within each chapter? And 3, and this is a common question I think people ask, is how come when I read the Qur'an, the topic always changes? Yes? And then I don't understand it, I can't focus, I can't build a relationship with it. Why does it do that? Right? Now, these are the questions which I am posing from my heart, because I didn't learn them in madrasa. I started learning them in my 20s. But we have, mashallah, some youngsters here today, and I encourage, inshallah, youngsters to attend, or families, you bring your youngsters, because if we call ourselves Muslim, we value the nights of Qadr, and we are celebrating the revelation of the Quran. So we have to understand the foundations of this book. And I am treating all of you as intelligent people. Now, yes, I will simplify my material, but mashallah, as you know that I have lectured here before, mashallah, ladies, you are more intelligent than the men. Okay, people object. No. Actually, just on historical precedent, they do ask a lot more questions than the men. I think everybody, you have to agree with me there, surely. That is true. So the elders of oil are not denying this. Yes? So mashallah, no. Of course, you are equally intelligent, but certainly the ladies have posed more questions in the past. So I'm treating you as an intelligent audience that inshallah can engage with these discussions. And these are not just intellectual discussions. There is a spiritual dimension to why I'm saying it. For me, the most important aspect as to why I'm dealing with this is I want to learn how our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah salli alaihi, how did a man who was an orphan, who did not have many means, who could not read and write, that's another big debate, which I will go into maybe tomorrow or day after, who did not have that skill, how did he receive wahi? That wahi not only spiritually transforms his soul, but he was able to transform society. I want to learn from the Prophet that I want to improve myself, remove my sins, my ignorance. How did our beloved Prophet do that? What was the technique? What was the usloob, the method? This is what is most important. Prophet isn't just a prophet at the time of Ramadan or Muharram or in his wilad or wafat for us. He should be a role model every day. And the Qur'an should be a book that we are able to tap into every single day, inshallah. Salawat. Now, of course, it is also a sad night. We are commemorating the Shahada of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Salawat. Allah. And when I was discussing with the board about a month ago, I think we agreed that I would share aspects or just some sayings of Nahjul Balagha, not just for the adults, but particularly directed to young people as well, as to how Imam Ali alayhi salam was able to speak about religious and non-religious issues. And I'll share one saying every single night, right? And that is in honor of him, especially today, and to encourage us, even if you have 5 minutes before you go to sleep, right? I'm talking to teenagers, any person, you have 5 minutes before you go to sleep, either it's on the phone or you have the book at home, go to the back of Nahjul Balagha and choose one saying. Just one saying, it'll take you 5 minutes to read it, right? And you see the impact that saying has on your life, all right? I'll begin with this one. This is hadith number 5, towards the end of Nahjul Balagha. So Imam Ali says, Al-ilmu wirasatun karima wal adabu hulalun mujaddada wal fikru mir'atun safiya. Very short, very concise hadith. He says, knowledge is a noble inheritance. Ilm is a noble inheritance or legacy, estate, what you leave behind. Adab, etiquette, manners are like a renewed or new clothing, new dresses. And fikr, thinking or thought, is a clear mirror. Clear mirror. Okay? What is he trying to say? He says that if you want to leave anything behind in life, leave knowledge behind, number one. Because without knowledge, society descends into ugliness. Families become ignorant. One can have wealth, one can have clothing, houses, and I'm not saying these things are not, of course, we have to live. But ilm, knowledge itself, is always the tool and the means by which you and I can not only improve our lives, but we can change society. Look, very simply, look at what is happening in Gaza. Okay? Yes, there's a ceasefire, but attacks still continue, right? Aid is still being stopped. 3, Muslim countries perhaps can speak more, and they're not always doing so. Western countries are very powerful, or few of them, in making decisions. This is not against West, against Muslim countries. This is about whether you and I have a political framework to, in fact, create unity within at least the Muslim world that even despite our differences and the way we pray and our aqaid and sects and whatever, we still surely can be united to stop killing. And sadly, we haven't accomplished that because we don't have a unifying long-term political framework that we can say that in this area, we all should be unified. We don't have a European Union, Muslim European Union, we don't have that. And look, I'm from UK, we have left EU, but if you have looked at the objectives of European Union, I don't know if you have, these objectives are very beautiful because it's all about free movement of persons, free movement of goods, free movement of services, free movement of workers. Look at the spectrum of Europe, right? You have right-wing countries and left-wing countries, right? You in fact have the rise of the far right in Europe, especially Nordic countries at the moment. And that is spreading. You see what is happening in America, right? There is a right-wing approach to politics, which is that there is less value given to diversity, minority voices, at least with the Trump administration currently, right? So I have a colleague who is expert in this, and his theory, by the way, is that it's not a conspiracy. He says he says that there are, I'm trying to phrase it properly, that there are particular networks, far-right networks, which come together and join each other to accomplish particular political objectives. So that, just one example of a political objective is that a majority race should rule. Minority should not have voices. Minority rights should not be respected in the constitution. And there's more I can say. I don't want to divert the lecture. All I'm trying to tell you is that when you speak to people who are in this field, it tells us that if we don't have knowledge of not only current affairs, but creating frameworks to be able to fulfill common political objectives, that's when a civilization remains far behind. Our beloved Prophet, peace upon him, wasn't just, if you like, a strictly spiritual person, religious person. He was a practical person, extremely practical. You look at Sahifatul Medina, the Charter of Medina, looking the way that he's trying to respect minorities. You look at the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. You look at how he's even putting his title of Prophet aside and saying, I'm Muhammad ibn Abdullah in order for peace. This requires another series of lectures. All I'm trying to tell you is that our beloved Prophet, and indeed Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, in the way that he ruled his Khilafah, there is a lot to learn about political unity, what to unite on without sacrificing fundamental religious principles, which, to be honest, are not many. You have few religious principles which bind you, right? Believing in God, praying, Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahy al Munkar, and you're uniting around these. But beyond that, there can be lots of differences, okay? So I'm giving you a small aspect of Imam Ali's life and why he's talking about ilm. He says that adab are those renewed and new clothing and dresses for you, outer garments for you. Because today you see me, I'm Imranali, and you see, okay, Imranali has this negative side of him. Okay, no problem. It's fine, you can say that. But tomorrow, if I focus on my akhlaq and you see, wait, Imranali is a bit different, he's smiling a bit more, right? He's removed this negative quality from him. How did that change? Because my adab is my clothing. The way you judge me and I judge you is based on your akhlaq. But we can change it all the time. Look at Imam Ali's thinking. He's thinking, how can human civilization change? And then he says, thinking is a clear mirror. If you value thinking, reflection, pausing, thinking logically, you basically become a decisive person. You're a clear thinker. You are far-sighted. You are able to organize yourself. No, when people say, well, this person is disorganized, or a young person says, I'm not sure what I'm doing in life, or I haven't made a decision, or I'm confused. These things result due to a lack of organized thought in the brain, which is the subject of ilm al-mantiq, science of logic. So Imam Ali is even thinking about how human beings should organize their thoughts. Everything that Imam Ali has said, right, is not purely for a Muslim community. If you said this in a church, in a synagogue, in a school, in a university, this statement would be up on walls because it's so valuable to young people. Do you see that? So even the way we have perceived Imam Ali perhaps needs to be broader, inshallah. Salawat. Okay, was that clear, everybody? And was the pace okay? Yes? Okay, alhamdulillah, right. Now we go a bit deeper into more technical topic. The title of the lectures was, critical discussions on the Qur'an. So I want to pose a few questions which come from Ulumul Qur'an. Ulumul Qur'an, the science of Qur'an. Which are, number one, when was the Qur'an revealed? That's the first question I'm humbly posing to you. When? Two, how was it revealed? How? Okay. So I'll ask you, anybody tell me when the Qur'an was revealed? Anybody can give an answer, feel free. It's to jolt you a bit after iftar as well. Okay, so good, mashallah. One sister says month of Rajab. Anybody else? I heard of Ramadan somewhere. Yes? Ramadan? Okay, Rajab, one sister says Rajab and Ramadan. See, I proved my point, by the way. We say in England 2-0, all right? So, you said Rajab and Ramadan. In fact, what you have said is exactly the discussions in the hadith in Ulumul Quran. Why do we have this discussion about when the Quran was revealed, and why should it even be important? So what? It's important because of the first question that I posed. Why was the Quran revealed at around age 44, our beloved Prophet? Why that time, and why in these so-called particular days of Layal Qadr or Laylatul Qadr, right? The first point to note is when we talk about 27th of Rajab, we term that as Laylatul Mab'ath, yes? And we also say Laylatul Mi'raj. Laylatul Mab'ath, the night of dispatch, when the Prophet was sent to proclaim his message. But we also say Mi'raj, the night of ascension. You have a hadith which deal with Rasulullah's appointment as a prophet to proclaim the message, number one. Then number two, you have Mi'raj there. Okay? So you have this spiritual journey. Then number three, as one of the sisters said, that we have a hadith that indicate that the Qur'an was revealed on 21st and 23rd, and some riwayah, perhaps you can say 27th. This you all know. But the second set of ahadith talk about the nights of Ramadan as the point in which the Qur'an was revealed. Okay? You have a third set of ahadith, which I have here, which talk about the Torah and the Injil also being revealed in Ramadan. Now again, you can just pose a question there. Did the month of Ramadan exist in that time? So there are two ways to look at that. You can say, perhaps, or you can say, well, it's not about the title of the month, but it's that period of the year those books were revealed, right? And the third hadith I'm giving you is part of the tafsir of Suratul A'la. Suhufi Ibrahima wa Musa, right at the end of Suratul A'la. That Allah tells the Prophet that what you are saying to people was in the scriptures of Suhufil Ula, the earlier scriptures, Suhufi Ibrahima wa Musa, Ibrahim and Musa alayhimus salam. So the first point I want to give you is, when we talk about what is the Qur'an, right? You have to look at it from the perspective of the Qur'an coming from a reality that is beyond our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him. That is indicated in Surah Al-Buruj, verses 21 to 22, when Allah says that this Qur'an came from Lawhul Mahfuz, the preserved tablet. Okay? Kitabul Maknoon. These phraseologies are used. So we are first of all talking about suhuf, scriptures, which are coming from a particular reality descending on various anbiya. That should give you a bit of insight into why different prophets have different scriptures and different mu'jiza as well. So the Qur'an is for the time of Rasulullah, but also beyond. But there is also a book for Musa and a book for Isa, and there is Wahi for Ibrahim alayhi salam. There is Zabur for Dawood. So all of these scriptures are differing, but are coming from, it appears, that same reality. Salawat. So if you start from that perspective, I will come back to it. But let's deal specifically with the Qur'an, right? What is that when of the Qur'an? What does the Qur'an say? It says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Shahru Ramadhan, unzila fihi al-Qur'an, Huda lil-nasi, yes, Huda lil-nasi, wa bayyinati min al-Huda wal-Furqan. That we say in the dua that we usually recite in Ramadan, Surah Al-Baqarah verse 185. It clearly says that the month of Ramadan in which was revealed the Qur'an. Yes? But it also says it is minal huda wal furqan. So the guidance that we have is from al-huda, the noun, wal furqan, the noun, the criterion. So the guidance that we have is from another guidance, from al-huda, the guidance, and from furqan. You see that? When we are talking about guidance from Qur'an, it's coming from this universal guidance, which was revealed to all the Anbiya, number one. So we have a clue from the Qur'an, it is the month of Ramadan. And then it says, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatin mubarakah, that we say in Surah Al-Dukhan. We revealed it in a blessed night. Or Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. Indeed, we revealed it in the night of Qadr. From the Qur'an, Ramadan is mentioned and the blessed night is mentioned. So the Qur'an is always our starting point. So therefore we can point to the fact that Ramadan is the month in which the Qur'an was revealed. But then you may ask, what about Laylatul Mab'ath, 27th of Rajab, when our beloved Prophet was appointed as a prophet and proclaimed? So here, Ayatul Hadi Ma'rifa, rahmatullahi alayh, in his Ulumul Quran books, Talkhis Tamheed, very beautiful books, and there is an abridgment which is translated, which I would recommend you to buy, which has these debates in. He says that there is some confusion here which needs to be reconciled. When we talk about the revelation of the Quran, people say that the Quran was revealed over a period of 23 years, which I'm sure you have heard and which generally children are taught in madrasa. He says, however, there is a better opinion and a more logical opinion. He says the Quran was revealed over a period of not 23 years, but 20 years. 20 years. Why 20 years? Because at age 40, the Prophet was told to proclaim the message, but proclaim in secret. And he did that for 3 years, from around 40 to aged 43. From 43 to 63, 20 years, Quran was revealed. And those 20 years are correct according to him, because even in the last year, there was still ayat of Quran that were revealed to our beloved Prophet, peace upon him. So the very important thing to note here is prophethood, nabuwa, irsal, or irsalul Quran, or tabligul Quran, the proclamation of the Quran, occurred after the 3 years of Rasulullah. And there is a beautiful explanation of this If you look at Siratul Nabawiyah by Ibn Hisham, one of our earliest history books, it says 3 years after he was dispatched, that is to proclaim. And in Suratul Hijr, it says, verses 94 to 95, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَاسْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرُ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْمُشْرِكِينَ إِنَّا كَفَيْنَاكَ الْمُسْتَهْزِئِينَ. So proclaim that which you are commanded, O Muhammad, and withdraw from the idolaters, the mushrikeen. Indeed, we suffice for those people that mock at you. Allah is telling our beloved Prophet. And then the hadith continues that this verse was revealed, and then Rasulullah was instructed to make the Qur'an public and issue counsel for everyone. This is narrated in both Shia and Sunni sources, which I have here. Tafsir al-Qummi, Biharul Anwar, Siratul Nabawiyah. We have Ahadith from As-Sadiq. There are a number I have here. Okay? The point here is that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam explains this beautifully. He says, the messenger of God remained in Makkah for 13 years after revelation came to him from the blessed God, including 3 years where he was out of the view of the public and he was afraid. Yes, Prophet was afraid to go out into public. And you know what happened, because when he did go out into public, people threw stones at him and verbally and physically abused him, including his own uncle Abu Lahab. So there was a reason for this. And Allah did not want him to expose the Qur'an or expose his proclamation until God told him to proclaim what he had been commanded and make his call known. Now there's a small point here. When you're talking about descent of Qur'an, revelation of Qur'an, I've already said that descent of Qur'an is coming from one source, like the other scriptures came. That Lawhun Mahfud, the guarded tablet, the same source that the Torah came, Injil came, Zabur came. But look at what is happening here. Qur'an is dependent upon Prophet's circumstances, Prophet's attributes, the people around him, and what they are going to do. So the very fact that there was a delay, if you like, in the revelation of the Qur'an, or a gap between proclamation and the actual ayat, expression of ayat of the Qur'an, shows that each revelation depends on the social circumstances and personal circumstances of the Anbiya. So when people have sometimes these debates, I have heard since childhood that, oh, Prophet Isa, look, he had better miracles than the Prophet, or Prophet Isa was a prophet at the time of when he was a baby, or an imam is better than the Prophet. We have sometimes these debates. These debates are very superficial because they do not look at the historical circumstances of the Qur'an. And they also don't look at what was the contents of the Qur'an that was appropriate for that society either. They think that, well, the miracle of Musa, the miracle of Isa, the time of Ali, the time of this Imam is just comparable to all prophets. That's not the way to look at Islamic history. Islamic history is human history. Human history means that what were the type of people existing at the time of Rasulullah, right? What was their skill set? What was the type of people at the time of Musa? What was the type of people at the time of Isa was the time of great illness, of leprosy, of blindness, of chronic illness. The people wanted medicine. This was the type of society. That wasn't the type of society of Rasulullah, right? Now, I am preparing, just you, because I want to introduce a bit more debate as the lectures go by, as to the intellectual value of the Qur'an in producing frameworks for us. But I'm giving you these seeds which are from Qur'an and Hadith, and I will share those references for you, just to prepare your mind to appreciate what the Qur'an is and its circumstances. Salawat, please. Okay. Shall I move on to the next question? Is it okay, everybody? Or you feel like going to sleep already? Is everybody okay, yes? Okay. The second question, and in fact, the Qur'an says this, right? This is a question which the mushrikeen asked Rasulullah, which maybe you and I have asked. This is from Surah Al-Furqan, verse 32. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. In fact, from those who disbelieve. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَوْلَا نُزِّلَ عَلَيْهِ الْقُرْآنُ جُمْلَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ كَذَلِكَ لِنُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ وَرَتَّلْنَاهُ تَرْتِيلًا. The disbelievers say, why is the Qur'an not revealed to the Prophet all at once? Okay. And then Allah says, it is revealed thus that we may strengthen your heart, O Muhammad, and we have arranged it in the right order. Now, ever since my teenage years, I don't know, it's the same. People have said the Quran all came down at once. Have you all heard that? Is that what you believe? I don't know what you believe. Everything came down at once. No, okay. There is that view that everything came down to the Prophet at once. Okay? Then the second view is that the Quran came down in stages. Okay? Tanzilan, or warattala tartilan, or tartilan, you can say. There is those verses in the Quran I'll share with you. And there is also a third view, which is by Allama Tabatabai, rahmatullahi alayh, in Al-Mizan, where he says you can also say that the Quran came like basitan, like as a simple reality to the Prophet, right? As a kind of concept, as a kind of summary, as a genus, you can say. And then the Quran came down in various stages, in various ayat. There is essentially three views. We have from the Qur'an and from Ahadith. But this verse, which the disbelievers say, and they're kind of taunting the Prophet, that you proclaim to be a prophet, well, where is this Qur'an you talk of? Because he came with a few verses. Most people say that the first 5 ayat of the Qur'an was Surah Al-Alaq. Most. There is an opinion that it was the ayat of Surah Al-Muddathir. And there's also an opinion that it was Surah Al-Fatiha. But most say Surah Al-Alaq. I'll go into that debate, inshallah. But the point is, people used to taunt him and say, you proclaim to be prophet, where is your miracle? Where is this Quran you speak of? And if you imagine our beloved prophet, he's coming with a few ayat, and then he has to take that abuse, right? And Allah is not giving him any other ayat until later, another time. So I'm trying to put you in the shoes of Rasulullah. So we appreciate his journey, right? My point is, it wasn't something automatic. This was a whole development happening inside Rasulullah's soul and the society going along with it, right? But this verse tells us that the revelation of the Quran, number one, happened in stages, because Allah is saying it didn't happen at once. But two, it happened based on the receptivity and the nature of the Prophet's heart. And there is a lot of, my research over the last 3 years has been about this. How did the Prophet memorize the Quran? Because in Surah Al-Ala, we say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهِ. Soon we will recite to you, or we will recite to you so you don't forget, except what Allah wills. That's what we will do in Eid, Salatul Eid. Yes, recommended surah. Surah Al-Alaq is saying that Allah is saying we will recite to you so you don't forget. Now if you forget all of these technical notes and tafsir, if you're just reading the Quran and you're saying this verse, what is it telling you? What's the verse telling you? If Allah is telling the Prophet, soon we will recite to you so you don't forget, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Anybody? Sorry? To forget. So, does that mean Prophet forgot? Do you see my point? I'm telling you what is in the Quran. I'm not saying the Prophet forgot anything. I'm saying to you, why is that verse there? This verse has nothing to do with us, by the way. Because one of the justifications we give when we want to discuss some sensitive issues when it comes to Rasulullah's life, we say, no, this was for the public. We say, this was to teach us. This verse got nothing to do with us. This is the Prophet. Prophet is alone. Allah is telling the Prophet, سَنُكْرُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَ إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهِ, except whatever Allah wills. Right? So look at what is happening here. And if you combine it with the verse of Surah Al-Furqan, the Prophet's memory, the Prophet's intellect, the Prophet's capacity for revelation occurred in stages. So you can say that all of these aspects were strengthened in particular manners. Okay? So I'll go into that, but I'm sharing that with you because it connects with this verse. Allah is telling the disbelievers that you are taunting Rasulullah. Why are you taunting Rasulullah? I am strengthening the heart of Rasulullah, and I will arrange what I reveal to him in the right order. Right? So the first point I want to tell you is that the revelation of the Qur'an, the stronger opinion, is that it was revealed in stages. And we have the verse of the Qur'an which says that tanzilan. And number two is that the verses were coming down based on the particular circumstances of Rasulullah. I'll just give you two very simple examples, right? One is the personal circumstances of Rasulullah, and that is to do more with his shakhsiyah, personality. And the other is his sifat, intellect and memory. And the third, you can say, is the ahwal, or the states, or the hal of the community, right? I'll give you just two examples. One is, I've only dealt with this briefly before, that Salatul Layl was revealed to Rasulullah to strengthen his patience and ability to withstand the people who used to physically and verbally abuse him in the day. In Surah Al-Muzzammil, the Salah was revealed to him. He then taught it to the community. All the Shia and Sunni tafsir say this. That Salatul Layl, the Prophet prayed for 1 year, 3 years, 10 years, difference of opinion there. And he prayed that Salah because Allah tells him that in the night is the firmer tread. وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. Recite the Qur'an in a measured way. قُمِّ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Stand in the night except a little. This was all that training of Rasulullah. This was his personal circumstances to give the Prophet calm, to reassure him, don't worry, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. Pray to me. Don't retort to these people, pray to me. Another example is the change of the Qibla in Surah Al-Baqarah. If around verse 144, I think, if I'm not mistaken. The change of Qibla occurred, which was a social issue, that some Jews and some Christians were not accepting the message of Islam, or were not respecting the revelation of the Qur'an, and were not respecting Rasulullah as an independent and unique prophet. Because prior to the change of Qibla, Prophet was praying towards Baytul Maqdis or Baytul Muqaddas, towards Jerusalem. He was praying with the Jews and the Christians. And if my memory serves me correctly, the revelation came down during Salatul Dhuhr, that in midpoint in the Salah, he changed the Qibla. I think after 2 rakats, he changed the Qibla, and they started praying towards the Kaaba, right? And that was there because some of the rabbis and the priests used to say, oh Muhammad, you have changed your Qibla, your deeds are valueless. They don't mean anything. You changed the Qibla. You've changed the ritual. You've changed the Qibla. You've changed part of the religion now. Your deeds don't mean anything. And the Prophet responds, you have not understood the essence of your own book. And I would say that's also a question for us today. That we maybe put a lot into our rituals. It's fine, we do amal, it's no issue. But how to do amal, what is the best method? Have we focused? Have we lost sight perhaps of the essential message of the Qur'an? I gave the example of Gaza. the disunity amongst Muslims currently? Have we lost sight of what is important from the Qur'an? I think there's an argument there, yes. So the Prophet responded to the Jews and Christians with that statement. Again showing that the verse of the change of Qibla only came down because to respond to that social circumstance. Salawat, please. A third point. Shall I end in 5 minutes? I think. What does everybody think? 5 minutes? Sorry? Saying carry on because Mariam said to do 40 minutes. So okay, I'll try to do 5 because there is apparently a Q&A. Is it? 10 minutes. There is, yes. Okay, fine. Let me just give you. I want to. Before I move on to the third point and conclude, let me give you the answer of Shaykh al-Mufid with regards to this debate, which is in Tasheeh I'tiqad al-Imamiyya, page 58. He says, what may be meant by the tradition which says that the Qur'an was revealed jumlatan on the night of destiny, because when you say anzalnaha or anzalnahu, that verb indicates everything came down at once. But tanzilan means it came down in stages. So he says what may be meant by the hadith which say the Qur'an was revealed sort of all at once, it means actually that when the Qur'an came down, it may mean that the Qur'an is coming on the night of destiny, meaning that it began on the night of destiny. It began on the night of Qadr. And then he says that the view that everything came down on night of Qadr is far away from the literal meaning of the Qur'an, the mutawatir traditions that we have, and the consensus of the scholars despite the difference of opinion. So the point I want to make is the night of Qadr represents the beginning period of the Qur'an. And I read an interesting point. This is maybe to help us with the Amal. There is a statement by Ayatollah Hadi Ma'rifa, which is from Tafsir al-Kabir by Fakhruddin Razi, rahmatullahi alayh, where when the Qur'an used to come on night of Qadr, people used to go to Rasulullah and say, what is Allah bringing to you? Please, can Allah fulfill my needs for the rest of the year by the revelations that are coming down on the night of Qadr. Now when we have these things, these traditions say, ask for what you want on the night of Qadr, that Allah decrees for the rest of the year, or ask, the deeper meaning behind that is, the verses of the Qur'an that used to come on the night of Qadr were very significant. So it means that the significance of the verses used to transform the society. It wasn't just about fulfilling personal needs. It was like a transformation of the society. So the nights of Qadr represented nights of transformation for the Muslim Ummah at the time. Not perhaps now, we are sometimes divided, or we asking for personal needs we are entitled to. But the nights of Qadr are meant to be very transformative. Salawat. I'm just going to end on a hadith and I will conclude. I had something else, but I don't want to do it because it becomes too much. All I want to share with you is a very nice hadith to answer the question which I posed earlier about the difference in miracles. This is from Al-Kafi, volume 1, page 25 to 24, but is also in Uyun al-Akhbar Rida. I'll read a bit in Arabic and then I'll do the rest in English, and I will end. I know Mariam is standing there, okay? A few minutes, okay? فقال أبو الحسن إن الله لما بعث موسى كان الغالب على أهل أسرح السحر فأتاهم من عند الله بما لم يكن في وسعهم مثله وما أبتلى به سحرهم وأثبت به الحجة عليهم. I'll do the rest in English, but I said that because the language repeats in the hadith. He says, indeed Allah sent Musa at a time when what was prevalent in the society was sihr, magic. Okay? And Musa brought that which was from Allah He brought that which was from Allah, which the people could not do. They didn't have the capability of the staff and parting of the sea and turning the stick into a serpent. They didn't have this. So when Prophet showed that mu'jiza, the people's magic was invalidated, and it was a hujjah upon them. At the time of Isa, there were chronic illnesses and people wanted tib, medicine. So what did Isa bring? He brought the miracle of healing, right? Healing leprosy, right? Bringing back somebody from the dead. These were things which Isa alayhi salam brought. Now, and I'm ending. What happened at the time of Muhammad? At the time of Muhammad, what was prevalent? It says, Ahli asrihi khutab wal kalam wa shi'r. That means oration, speech and poetry were prevalent at that time. So people used to worship idols because they were so enchanted also with the poetry and with the messages in the poetry. It's like, look, movies today. Movies, Netflix, social media, Prime, whatever else we have, right? We are governed by that culture. And the messages are very powerful. Very, and to a degree, very dangerous, especially when you look at TikTok and people wasting their time with these. All of these things affect people's mind. It starts to change your morality, starts to change your personality. You start to think, what is enjoyment, what is pleasure. Everything becomes redefined, right? It's not just I'm watching something for pleasure. Things become redefined. See, what is happiness? Happiness for me at my time was playing Scrabble and going outside. We were playing cricket or football, whatever. Now it's a lot about devices, right? Happiness and pleasure is devices. Happiness and pleasure is watching a video to wind down 5-10 minutes of your time before you go to sleep, right? Well, look at how definitions of pleasure and happiness begin to change. So at the time of Muhammad, peace be upon him, was that. What happened? What did Allah send? A very beautiful. فَأَتَاهُمْ مِنْ إِنْدِ اللَّهِ مِنْ مَوَاعِدِهِ وَحِكْمِهِ مَا أَبْتَلَى بِهِ قَوْلَهُمْ وَأَثْبَتَ بِهِ الْحُجَّةَ عَلَيْهِمْ. That He brought with them from Allah mawa'ida, moral exhortation and wisdom, which disproved and invalidated the poetry and the oration. Qur'an was to do with moral guidance, with intellect, with moving the hearts and the mind. It had to be a different miracle. It had to be revealed in different stages. It had to change the Qibla. It had to respond to the Prophet's heart. It had to talk about the bee and how the bee is inspired, following pathways and being able to extract honey. It had to talk about these things because the society needed to be intellectually and morally transformed. Right? I wanted to deal with this question. I'll deal with it tomorrow. The question I want to deal with tomorrow, inshallah, is how did the Prophet receive the Qur'an in his heart? And number two, you may ask, what is the value of the Qur'an today? Okay, that mawa'ida and hikmah was for that time. I don't require the Qur'an today. I have Google, I have YouTube. I can learn about bees and science by doing a medicine degree and science degree. What is value of Qur'an exactly? Right? It's a harder question which a lot of Muslim reformists are asking. Inshallah, I'll deal with these two questions tomorrow. Salawat, please. Mariam, shall I do 1 minute maqtal? Yeah. I'll do just 1 minute maqtal. I don't feel right. It is the night of Imam alayhi salam. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. My dear brothers and sisters, today we have lost our Mawla, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Every year, my heart saddens. It's the same sadness, which is not just that he was killed in Masjid al-Kufa by Ibn Muljim, or struck and then dying a few days later. But the sadness is the same, which is, have we realized the value of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam? Have Muslims, human society, valued this man who uttered those beautiful words I began with, who is the Bab of the Madinatul Ilm? which is that in his time there was nobody comparable with ilm, with adab, than Ali. And as some reports indicate, that on the day of 19th of Ramadan, that when he was about to go to Masjid al-Kufa, Kulthum said to her father, Father, where are you going? Why are you going to the masjid? Allow somebody else to lead the prayer. Let somebody else take that responsibility. As a daughter would ask the father. And Ali alayhi salam may have reported to have been said that, I feel that death is destined for me, my dear daughter, and nothing can change Allah's will. Ali alayhi salam fulfilled his duty of leading the prayer, as his son Al-Hussein alayhi salam did when he went on the plains of Karbala, knowing full well that he was outnumbered, knowing full well that his family and companions are likely to be martyred. But who would stand against Yazid ibn Muawiyah? His own son fulfilled that same duty. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, as he goes into Masjid al-Kufa and he sees Ibn Muljim lying there, knowing that this person there is not sleeping or has bad motives, he still says, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala salah to people. And when he goes to pray the Nawafil and he gets up from the sajda, Ibn Muljim strikes him on his head and the blood splatters on that pillar or walls of Masjid al-Kufa. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, I wish, perhaps you wish, that we would have been there to stop that. We would have been there to raise our voices that this is wrong. We would have been there to protect Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. But then I see the state of Muslims today, and I see whether we are answering that call or not. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Rabbana la taj'alna ma'a qawmi dhalimin. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask you on these nights to please forgive our sins. Please, Allah, may we become better Muslims, better human beings. Please, may you elevate the stations of all mu'minin marhumin, our parents, our family members, all those who are ill and oppressed around the world. Oh Allah, please grant us your sustenance and blessing. Surah Al-Fatiha.